Welcome back.
Hello.
We're here again. Welcome to the Just a Couple of Bagels podcast, episode 3.
Yes.
With me, Tom. And this is...
I'm Sam.
You should know this by now if you
Hopefully.
haven't. Hello to anyone new. It's always nice to have new people. Ramblings as always. How have you been?
Yeah, good. I mean, starting to get back into the swing thing now with coaching.
Just as the rain starts.
So typical. So typical.
Because it's been...
It's been
not-
up for the past 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, it's been constant. A little
Constantly
bit more.
bad, yeah.
You haven't got the unpredictability. You just know it's going to rain every day.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. But, I refuse to go off court unless it's torrential.
I've started that because when it's sort of like, it's raining, so you're a little bit more reluctant, but then it's like, can't be doing this.
Yeah.
Can't be doing this. And you're just like, plough on. We'll plough on and do it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's only a bit of water.
That's very true. I mean, to be fair, most of the ones that I've been doing, they're adult ones, so they're running around anyway. They're an alright standard, so it's
Right, okay, yeah.
not even paying attention to the rain.
That'll be fine.
I'll get sweaty anyway.
Yeah.
Give
no,
me a
it's fine.
shower.
Individuals, I say individuals alright when you get to hit. Sometimes, like when you got a mini red or something.
Oh, are you standing around a little bit more?
Yeah, you do. I do tend to get a bit colder, but I'm just like, it's fine.
Had that a little bit today.
Yes.
I was running club now, just sort of standing there. It was all right in parts, but it's just when it kept pouring down with rain. You just have all the water coming down your face and think, I noticed this a little bit more.
Yeah, but well, it's England, so we knew what we were getting ourselves into.
Very true, very true. But hopefully not for much longer, because I've got a holiday coming up.
Lucky.
I know. Never have I greeted such news from the Prime Minister with so much enthusiasm.
Yes. I need to get something booked now, the British.
You're going to be like the rest of 80%, I reckon 80% of the British population are now going on Jet 2, TUI and all sorts. There are other airlines available, by the way.
Yeah, not an advertisement.
They'll be looking for any cheap holiday they can get their hands on now.
Anything at all.
Because I mean, there's a lot of countries that they've...
Well, I suppose it's Spain, France, Greece.
There's 50... I think there's 50 countries they've...
I only read the ones I was interested
in. Well, they're the main ones, though.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. Right, we're going a little bit off topic, so let's get into what's been happening in the tennis world this week.
Tennis all this week, so obviously the big finale of the Battle of the Brits.
Yes, it was.
Dan Evans.
Well, to be fair, he was very consistent all the way through, and I think he was probably the favourite going in there anyway. It was him. Cam Norrie, and Kyle Edmund, the favourites.
Yeah, I always back Dan Evans. I like him. He's a good player.
Find him a little. He's a little bit more interesting to watch than I'd probably say most of the other British players. I think it's just it's that one-handed backhand. That's what it is. It is that one-handed backhand because I'm pretty sure he's probably because Cam Norrie, double-hander, I believe. Kyle's a double-hander.
Double-hander, yeah. That's where it's at.
Yeah. And I think he's a little bit more interesting to listen to as well. I think he's got a bit more of a personality about him. They're not all media trained and
right,
what
yeah.
have you.
So I didn't get to watch too much, unfortunately. But from what I did watch, it was good.
The sounds of it, it was a success.
Yeah, it was good.
No one got it. No one got any corona.
No, I think they're doing the women's one now, aren't they?
Yes.
I think it's not anything. I mean, we've got like Nia and Brody going down to play it. I didn't know the names. I've gone this
I'll have
much.
to look into it.
But yeah, go on, Nia. Go on, Nia, mate.
Go on, big up for the northern quarter.
Yeah.
The only slight taint on it was Andy Murray retired from his third place playoff, so it was replaced by James Ward.
Yeah.
But I was quite...
I'm hoping it's not injury. Because injury, then that could be really it for him.
But it didn't sound... If it was an injury, I think he would have said. I think it was more sort of keeping it reserved, sort of not pushing himself.
I guess it doesn't make any sense for him to play third and fourth.
Because it's a meaningless match, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's probably no point putting his body through that sort of thing.
Well, he said himself, he said he'd be happy if he made it into the weekend.
Yeah.
He was happy if he got third in the group and he surpassed his expectations.
Oh, yeah, no, he's playing well. It's a good sign if obviously he didn't get injured. That's where he is right now. It's good building.
I'd still quite like him to go more into the doubles. I think if he went into the doubles, it'd be a lot more interesting and it would prolong his career a little
Maybe,
bit
but I don't think that's him, is it?
No, it's not.
Everyone's seeing him win Wimbledon again.
Very true. And the only other sort of major tennising thing that came out this week as well is that the French Open have announced that they're going to try and get 60% capacity through Roland Garros.
What a French thing to do.
Uh,
I think it's a risk.
It is a serious risk because you look at all other sports because the US Open have announced that they're not.
Yeah.
They're going to do it behind closed doors.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to cancel the Ryder Cup in golf.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It looks like they're going to cancel it because you need the crowd for that. But like,
because that's sort of a bit like it's where the Laver Cup sort of got its ideas from, like a Team Europe versus Team World sort of thing.
Yeah, and obviously it's just built on the atmosphere of the crowd. So without the crowd, there's no point in it. Well, it's not, it won't be the same.
No, definitely won't.
So it's just, I think if all these big events aren't happening because, of lack of a crowd, then, I don't think the French Open really should have no crowd.
Have you watched much of the Premier League return? Because that's...
I watched United matches. I haven't watched either ones. I watched bits, but...
You haven't been as invested?
No. I mean, I normally always only watch United matches anyway because I don't have time to watch anything else. But, I think it's alright. I watch it with the crowd noise in the back.
I was about to say, do you prefer it? Or
yeah, I think it's rare watching. It feels like I'm watching a Sunday League sort of match. I think the crowd noises do help and makes it a little bit more exciting. Even though there is like a delay.
There is a delay. It's
like
they have a shot 10 seconds later.
Yeah, like, the crowd goes, oh! So that was half an hour ago.
It's nice that they're making an effort with it. I think it is getting better. The delay isn't as bad as it was before. I think the slowly.
I guess there has to be a guy pressing a button in the studio somewhere.
You would have thought that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be because they've taken them from EA Sports, where they've taken the crowd noise.
Have they?
Yeah. So it's basically the FIFA crowd noise.
That's funny. Okay, I like that.
Interesting.
All right, that's quite good.
Right, shall we get on to the main topic?
Main event of the day.
So it's quite I'm going to say sensitive topic. I think that's probably the best way of putting it.
I don't think it has to be sensitive. I think
no,
there's a lot of things that the tennis community needs to learn from it.
But we're going to talk about the gender inequality in tennis. And I think we should both start by saying tennis is by no means the worst sport.
I would probably say it's the best sport at the moment out there.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you.
Out there for equality in terms of prize money and representation. I think I don't know how to play tennis, but I think if you got someone off the street and say, female tennis players, they could list off a few.
Well,
everyone knows Serena Williams.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure because I remember when the Forbes brought out their richest athletes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Naomi Osaka was number one for the women's side.
She now number one.
She was number one for revenue for last year.
So the ones who've been number one, Sharapova's been one.
Serena's been one.
Serena's been one. Now Osaka. I don't think Osaka's as well known in the general public.
I think it depends where you are. Here, maybe not, but if you go somewhere like Japan.
Oh, of course, in Japan she'll be like the star, but I think in terms of general public, you go out into town centre and go, look, can you list me off some players? You definitely get Serena, probably get Venus.
Yeah, I would have thought you probably get Sharapova.
You get Sharapova because she's obviously she's also quite high in business now. I reckon you might get Caroline Wozniacki.
Oh yeah, yes, I'd agree with that one as well.
The others maybe not so much.
Here you probably would get
you get Joe Conte.
You'd get Joe Conte. You'd probably get Heather Watson.
I'd say the others maybe not so much. Yeah, because they're still going through the ranks. Like Katie Bolton and Katie Swan.
And Harriet Dart as well.
Harriet Dart's playing very well as well.
Yeah, but
I like her game.
Yeah, I think people. It's a lot more exposed and what have you, but I still think there's things to improve on.
Oh, 100%. It's not perfect.
Shall we start with the main? We'll try and work our way from sort of professional, and then we'll focus on club stuff because I think it's two slightly different.
Yeah, it's different
bits. So from the professional side, first place that we probably looked at, we managed to do quite a lot of sort of research into this and find loads and stuff on this. It was a lot harder to find the club stuff because it's not as well publicised. Because I know I tried to find female participation in tennis.
Yeah.
So I went on the Sport England website and it was really hard to find it. You could find general participation, but you couldn't find split gender and what have you.
Right. Okay.
But you found quite a bit. The main thing is because everyone focuses on the Grand Slams because the main thing was equal pay for them.
I think it's a very controversial topic still. Definitely for me.
I agree with you, but then it slightly balances out if I start talking about the ATP and the WTA tours, and we'll get onto it. So I think all four Grand Slams now have equal prize money for the winner of each slam.
Yeah.
The US Open, for anyone who's interested, is both the men and the women receive $3.85 million each if they won the tournament.
Yeah.
And that was the latest one from 2019. I believe the last one to offer it was Wimbledon in 2007, because I know those people like Serena Williams, Venus Williams, they both were campaigning quite a lot when it wasn't equal pay.
Yeah.
But in 2007, they both received equal prize money for all the rounds.
Right. I think, from my point of view, at the moment, I think it's a bit controversial in terms of women only play 3 sets in the slam.
I completely agree with you on the slam front.
I think
by the fact that men are spending more time on court because they're playing on average longer because they play best of 5 sets rather than the women who play best of 3 sets.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of a man and a woman going for the same job, getting the same pay. However,
the men was
one person's doing 40 hours a week, the other person's doing, say, 30, 20 hours a week. That's sort of the logic that I went through.
The thing is, what I don't get is now, I think Wimbledon blame on scheduling or something, but there's no reason women can't play 5 sets.
No, I think it would be quite interesting as well to see how it goes.
I think you'd get new winners.
It's completely different. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a completely different game, but it's you manage it a lot more different. You see, like Rafa. I think Rafa was one of those people who prefers 5 sets because he can grind it out a little bit.
Exactly.
More.
Yeah, you're gonna get the big hitters kind of go away a lot better, and you get because obviously I don't know how Serena Williams would fare in it. Obviously, she's a big hitter. She's an athlete.
I think it's harder for me to judge her now than say if you were talking about, say, 5 years ago. I'd probably say she could handle it because physically she's stronger than most of the women.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I don't think there's any reason for them not to.
No, and I think you could still get big hitters who do quite well in 5 sets. John Isner, Kevin Anderson.
No one has on them.
Marin Cilic. There you go. There's my little bit.
Yeah.
US Open champion. That's a good little pub quiz. Since Federer won his first slam, can you name the people on the men's side who have won a Grand Slam other than Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer?
Murray.
Murray's 1.
Cilic.
Good, that's 2.
Jesus is bad.
There's one glaring one that I thought you'd say straight away.
Oh, was Van. Stan.
Yeah, Stan the man.
Stan the man. I can't ever say his last name.
Stan Wawrinka.
Is that it?
Think that. Yes. I think that is it. I can't think of any.
Yeah, because Raonic got into the final of Wimbledon.
Raonic got the final, yes. Because I remember that Cilic one. It was Cilic and Kei Nishikori who were in the final of that, which was quite a weird final. I can't think of anyone. Then Andy Murray's obviously won 2 Wimbledons and a US Open. Yeah. But there you go. There's a nice little bit of trivia knowledge for you. I feel like I'm missing a person out, but
no,
I can't think of who it is.
Leave it in the comments if you can think of it.
Oh, definitely, please.
Educate us. Anyway, back to women in tennis.
Yes.
So I think obviously in terms of when you're playing the Masters events, they obviously get paid the same as well, which I back that more because they're playing the same sets.
Actually, you're saying that. I found something out. I think it was Indian Wells. It was one of the American ones. The prize money was different.
Right, okay.
Roger Federer, I know, got roughly around $700,000 US.
Yeah.
And I think it was Serena who won the equivalent women's one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was. And she only got $250,000.
These 2 different events, though?
No, I think they were both in the same place. But what obviously this is the thing that I come down to, and quite a few people in the professional game have sort of advocated for since lockdown and what have you. It's because they're 2 different organisations who are running the tours. You've got the WTA and you've got the ATP.
Yeah.
It would be so much easier, and then you've got the ITF in there.
That's different.
if you just combine the two together, it would be so much easier to sort it out because you've got two different people, two different committees
Yeah.
coming up with different rules. Like when the women's team have had coaching
Judgment on
on
court.
court, which I'm quite a big advocate for. I know some people say, "Oh, it's an individual sport; you should keep it out there." But I like that idea of.
I like it as well, especially if we can hear it.
Oh yeah, because you get a little bit more into insight of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I reckon you probably get some better tactical matches as well.
Yeah.
Because you and I have seen, because we've done lessons where you're hitting and I'm watching.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier to sort of watch the person and analyse the person, what they're doing, than if you're there as self.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It's so much easier. And you probably get possibly a better standard of match. So
Yeah.
I think that you need a little bit more joined up thinking if you're going to solve the problem a bit more.
Yeah. But they're going in the right direction, but yeah, definitely there needs to be unity between both the ATP and WTA. Obviously, I think the WTA is there because it's there to represent women, and I think...
Well, it was set up by, I believe, Billie Jean King, who's done quite a lot.
Oh, yeah, of course, big name. I think the only problem with obviously losing WTA would be there's the risk of losing the representation of women.
Yes, but I reckon you could probably change it so it wouldn't you wouldn't just get rid of the WTA and just call it the ATP. I reckon you'd call it something completely different.
Right.
I think that's where you get it, and then by doing that, you're getting a little bit more joined up thinking, more representation for everyone, really.
Yes.
Because there are other factors we could go into where certain people aren't represented as much in tennis as other people.
Yes.
That's what I got there. Other little statistics that I found. The New York Times found that every 80 cent of the top 100 women earn the equivalent top 100 men earn $1. So there's a 20 cent difference.
I think that's coming down to maybe sponsorship. And
could be, yeah.
Image rights and stuff like that. I think in terms of like when people watch tennis on TV, more likely to turn on a men's game still. Why do you think
that is?
Because I think it's much more tactical in men's game. I think at the moment, even though women's game is getting a lot better, I enjoy watching women's matches now a lot more than I did when I started out in tennis. But I think men's games are much more tactical. There's much more going on, and you get the big shots. There's not I don't think at the moment there's really a character in the women's game like Kyrgios, or even Djokovic has outbursts and stuff. I think the women's game.
Well,
the only outburst there is when Serena Williams got angry at Osaka in the final, and that annoyed people.
Yeah, this is the point that I think I'd made a note of it, but when that happened, she came out and she was very, very vocal of how men are treated differently with code of conduct and stuff to women. Do you think that's true, or do you think she's...
I think she had a point, but I think the way she reacted and the way she handled it wasn't good.
I personally think, because I remember watching it, I thought she wasn't handling it in the right situation.
Not at all. I think she really let herself down. I know she was emotional for her because she's obviously trying to get more slams and beat records, but I think the way she handled it, especially for Osaka, that's her first slam. You know, it just seemed like Serena Williams trying to get the attention.
It's not her first one as well. She has had other outbursts. I think one was at the US Open as well. And to be fair, I can slightly sympathise with it because that's her home slam. That's where everyone sort of expects her to win. So her emotions are obviously going to be heightened up a little bit more. But I agree with you. I don't know if the men are treated differently, really.
I don't think so. I think they get the same sort of warnings, but I think they just get on with it. A majority, obviously.
So would you say they're not as argumentative?
Yeah, I think Kyrgios argues, but you got to take Kyrgios that's a one-off. I think they get their warning and they get on with it.
Well, can you argue that Serena's a one-off as well?
You could do, yeah. I'll say both react pretty well to it, but I just feel, I don't know. I feel like when Serena Williams is
it's hard, isn't it? Because you'd have to analyse so many matches, and you've got to make sure that people are almost breaking the code of conduct a little bit.
I think everyone has their outbursts, haven't they?
Oh, I think it's a natural thing to do. When you're in a situation where you've got thousands of people watching you play tennis, there's a higher element of risk.
I'm not watching Wozniacki, but have outburst once. I was like, well, this is crazy. This is what Wozniacki was about the calmest person on tour.
But then you're going into the realms of different personalities, aren't you? Where some people keep a lid on things better than other people.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I think you could also argue into, it's the personality. I think that's when you're getting into it.
Yeah, you get your big personalities who clash against each other, but it is what it is. It's one of those. I think.
It's one of them. It sounds a bit like we're sort of bashing tennis a little bit, but as we said before, it's one of the better sports, or if not the best sport for equality, and it's
By far, I think. Next that you might have athletics.
Yeah, I could go with that.
I mean, I'm comparing this to not exactly pay, but in terms of representation. I can name female athletes.
Yeah.
Football players. Even though I started watching the England World Cup and Women's World Cup and Euros and stuff, I can't name players. I don't think I'd recognise one walking in the street.
Really?
Women's football, no. I don't know. I follow the United's women's football.
I think that helps because if it's not, as you said, if it's not represented enough, people won't even know it exists.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I don't know why. I don't know why I don't recognise women's footballers as much. Because obviously the thing is about athletics, I watch on TV.
Yeah.
Women's football, I watch on TV every now and then when it's England play. I don't watch United's team play. I get the news updates.
Ah, okay.
So I haven't actually watched the games. I'll probably.
Well, is it what channel is it
on? I reckon it'll be on MUTV and.
Is it BT?
Well, United women's games.
Yeah.
Super League. I don't know. To be fair.
But yeah, I think it is that representation and making sure people know it's happening.
Yeah.
Because very recently, Real Madrid have now bought a team in Madrid and are calling it the Real Madrid women's team now.
Yeah.
So I think the more high-profile people and teams do it,
yeah,
the more represented it will become.
100%. Yeah.
Which then means the more money you get into it, and the higher the standard will be.
Yeah, obviously, I think in terms of women, the sport they're really doing well in is netball, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really coming through now, as they've got the right to Sky Sports.
And you could be picky as well of saying, oh, men aren't represented in such and such a sport. But it doesn't mean.
I think it's one of those sports, isn't it? That
It's like I've got quite invested in because with rugby I don't follow a team, but I'll always follow England whenever England are on. I always follow England, and I've started watching more of the women's rugby as well. Which, to be fair, the standard is different.
Yeah.
There is a higher standard with the men, but I think that's because they're a little bit further on. They're paid a lot more, and there's more money in the game in that sense.
100%.
But I still enjoy watching it.
I think in terms of when you watch England play, I think you enjoy watching your own country play. Behind them. I think it's always easier. Like, I would never go and watch Chelsea's women's team play.
That's because you're not invested in it, because that's not your team.
Yeah, no, but I think that at times I'll watch Chelsea's men's team play against Liverpool's men's teams. Not invested. I mean, it might be invested in terms of top 4 positions and whatnot.
Yeah,
but I would never do that for women, so this wouldn't interest me.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, but I think they are going in the right direction.
No, I mean, to back up some of the stats, I'd say tennis is probably one of the better sports. If you look at basketball, the NBA average pay is $240,000. Yeah. You compare that to the WNBA, it's just $11,000.
Just.
Compare
I know you compare it, yeah.
It's a massive change. It is a massive change.
Yeah, no, it is huge. It's
because it is.
Again, it's also to do with image rights. People watch men's sports, and I don't think women's are anywhere near that at the moment. In terms of it, not in a kind of football. Football's so far.
Football back that up on the. So there was quite a high profile story with the US football team.
Yeah.
Because the women wanted equal pay than the men's, and they said if both teams won 20 non-tournament games, and this is between 2016 and 2018, The men's received $263,000 each, and the team makes around $49.9 million.
Right.
The women's team only get $99,000, but then they make more money.
Yeah,
they
right.
make $50.8 million.
So that's interesting in that terms. Then, yeah, the women's have a right. If they got that of them, if they could take them, I don't know how they do it, but them stats, if they are accurate, then yeah, women should be paid more or equal.
I mean, I think it's slightly different because I know the men's teams, all from the football, the England national team, the money that they would get given for each match, they donate to a charity or something. They don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should be
represent your country. You shouldn't need to get paid.
No, maybe.
However,
when
you're in the position that the women's game is in,
the women's game, yeah,
it helps.
Yeah, I think the women get a lot from playing for England, so fair enough. I think in the men's, they shouldn't be getting paid.
No.
I understand the women getting paid because that's where they get the most views.
So from people who have said things, both Rafa and Novak have argued men should earn more as they attract more people, which is what you were sort of saying.
I think they do. Yeah, I think you can even see it at Wimbledon. I think forget the finals, but if you look at week 1, the court will be filled for the majority of men's rounds 1, 2, 3. Women's rounds, unless you get a really, really big name, like unless you get your Williams on, but like a player, I'd even say Osaka.
Really?
I don't think you'll fill the stadium out in week 1 of Wimbledon. Against some wild card player, which is going to be 6-1, 6-1 in half an hour. Go out for my Pims. The time I go out and get my Pims to come back in the queue, that game's over.
Do you think that's down to the entertainment factor as well from it?
I think so. I think when you watch, I mean, obviously the men are not like you watch Roger Federer, he'll wipe the floor with the first round opponents.
Most of the time.
But I always feel like there's something there. There's always that challenge event there. I think they have some more. There's always something extra when you're watching that kind of match. I just feel like when you watch it's like a 16, 17-year-old girl play against Serena Williams, you're just there like, no, not a chance.
Because if you look
except for Goff, you can obviously go for Goff. Incredible player. She's one of a kind.
And I think I know people use the term lightly, but she might end up transcending the sport.
Yeah.
Because she's been very vocal about Black Lives Matter recently. Even at 16 years old, she's comfortable to talk about these issues and spread them around to people. It shows a real maturity.
Yeah.
Which can only be good for the game. The point that I was going to come on to, if you look at sort of the changing of rankings in the men's and the women's, there's a lot more fluidity in the women's.
Yes.
You get a different number 1 most times, where if you look at the men's, it's Novak, Roger, Rafa, they're all alternating.
Oh, yeah.
They're alternating those positions.
Yeah.
What would you put that down to?
I think they're a generation that we might never see this again in terms of they're all incredible athletes. No one's. I think in terms of that kind of gold, you could even put Andy Murray in if you're going back a couple of years.
Well, you could put Andy Murray, you could put Stan Wawrinka in then now. Yeah. Possibly Dominic Thiem.
Yeah.
Today.
It's into that golden light triad. I think all such great athletes, and I think if you look at the players who are meant to be breaking through and they haven't done it, Dimitrov should have been up there. Never.
Was that lost generation of. It was like Dimitrov, Nishikori, Raonic, who we thought these guys are going to knock them off,
and then no.
And then
they got fitter. They got fitter, and they went away and stayed. They didn't challenge. Then we had Zverev. Zverev's meant to be the next big thing.
I'm slightly sympathetic for Zverev because he's had personal things that have distracted him from the game. So I'll give him that a little bit.
True.
Hopefully now everything is all sorted out so he can.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think defensively, obviously he's had this personal matter. Maybe that's why mentally he's not strong enough to do it yet. But it's just I think right now the men's game is getting more entertaining because everyone wants to watch Roger, Rafa, and Djokovic because they don't have that long left. What do you think? Unless they're going to play into their 50s.
Yeah, they might do. But then again, if you look at it from a women's point of view, like every time all the pundits get asked, it's like, who do you think is going to win men's Wimbledon? It's the age-old things of Roger, Rafa, Novak. It's one of those three. When it comes to the women, they're very
No idea.
umming and ahhing that they don't know who is going to win it.
Probably Serena, but
At this moment, I don't think she's as a concrete bet now as she was a few years ago.
She's got a couple of times left in her.
I reckon because she's got to a few finals and she's just not turned up in some of the finals, which I think it's that pressure of trying to get the record for most slams.
Yeah, that is pressure now.
But you could argue then that it's it should be a more entertaining game to watch because you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, I think because I just took off when you watch Federer play and you watch especially like Djokovic and Nadal, they're such athletes. The rallies, like they're getting 20 shot rallies all the time. They're hitting some incredible shots, and you just don't see that as much in the women's game. You don't see the long rallies. You don't see the.
But then, even don't.
I think women's games is much.
They're both two completely different games.
I think it's much more women's games to get the point over as soon as possible. That's what I think. That's what it's turning to now.
I half agree with you by the result. They get the point over as quickly as possible. But I've always thought the women's game is flatter. They don't have as much topspin. It's more who can hit the ball the hardest and keep it in.
Which goes with finish the point as quick as possible.
Yeah.
The men's game is all about you spin, get the top spin in court.
There's a lot more variety with the men's game than there is.
It's all about breaking down your opponent. Getting that rally, waiting for that the basic wait for the short ball, and wait for them to make that slight mistake and pounce on it. Whereas the thing is, women's is, especially when you look at Serena, it's just, and when you look at Sharapova in the early days, especially. When I was reading a book, all the coach used to do was feed her a basket of balls and told her to hit it as hard like possible.
That's like, do you remember Yelena Ostapenko, who won the French Open?
Yeah.
Who literally just whacked the ball as hard as she can.
Yeah.
I think it's slightly changing now because you've got people like Ash Barty, you've got Simona Halep,
who different, isn't it?
Who are progressing it a little bit more, who have got different styles. I know Ash Barty's been lauded as having a little bit more topspin. She has more variety to her game, which is brilliant for female tennis.
I think Ash Barty, she obviously took the cricket route first.
Yes.
So she never went through all the system of sort of what every other player has done on tour, which might be a great thing for the tour.
This is quite an interesting thing, actually, because I don't know what I was listening to or what I was reading to come across the information. With the amount of effort and time you've got to put into tennis, do you think that girls, when they're growing up, they're very sort of singularly on tennis and they don't do other sports, so they're not as well-rounded athletes as...
It's just our transition into the clubs side of female things now.
It is a little bit, but we can revert back to a little bit more because there's a load more that we can talk about from the professional game.
I don't know, I'd say in terms of girls, they have a lot going on. I don't think a lot more than boys. I think boys, to a degree, are slightly different, but they choose sports and they stick to sports. Women, girls from young age are doing everything.
Yeah.
Ballet, just being stereotypical, but ballet, art, anything to do with the arts, and then they got the sports going on. They tend to be more social. It's always, up with especially as they get into teenage years, which is why I've always had this problem as a coach. You have a great player when they're 12, and all of a sudden teenage years hits, and you start losing them to social life.
That is hard, and they've really got to be focused on it.
It is a focus for a girl, I think. I mean, if you get a girl who's focused purely on tennis, and you've got to really hit the jackpot there.
Oh, yeah.
But I've never had a girl whose pure focus is tennis. I've had girls who I've got netball next week, I can't train. Like, great. Obviously, you get that the same with boys that I've got football, but we've got cricket this week. It's the same with all kids, but when they get to the age of like 12 and something, they need to start stashing things.
Yeah, no, I
boys
completely
do
agree with that.
A lot better than girls do.
You think girls sort of keep everything?
To everything, like the big down, which is fine, but you can't excel.
It comes back to the research that someone told me about, where the German Football Federation, in order to improve the athletes at a younger age, got them to do a wide variety of sports. So they did everything.
From a young age, play every sport possible because it actually helps. Playing different sports is really helpful. But once you get to that important years in terms of development, when tournaments become more important, you need to start getting rid of not all of them, but slowly start getting rid of the ones you don't want to do. You can't cling on to every single sport.
No.
The sports that I gave up, which I still wish I played now, but obviously it's kind of hard to fit it in. Mm-hmm. So I think boys do it a lot better than girls. I reckon I could always get more commitment out of a boy than I could. Okay. I think honestly this is great. I mean, when I went to university, some of the girls I saw play there, incredible. The commitment they had to the game was, they died for the game. But in terms of, I think you get that a lot more with boys. You get a lot more, especially in the club level. Girls just drop out.
Okay. Going back to the professional game, when you were suggesting that we watch men's more, there was quite a surprising thing I found out, and I don't know if it's the American people who are a little bit more, they'll watch anyone and all this sort of thing. But from data that somebody found out, from 2010 to 2014, the Women's US Open final draw, it drew a larger audience in America than the men's final did.
Was there an American player in it?
Probably Serena, so that's probably why.
She's one of those she's known.
Yeah, well, part of that was due to Serena appearing in four of the finals.
Yeah.
But then
I think Americans are very much like that. I think the majority of sports Americans play, only Americans play.
Yeah.
NBA, NFL, NHL.
Have you watched The Last Dance?
No.
What if I watched it and I heard someone talking about a podcast and I completely agree with what they said. I think Americans have a much different mindset to sport than we do. We look at all the technical stuff and all this. Like if someone is tactically good, we look at that and focus on that. In America, if you watch the stuff, it was if you especially watched the Last Dance documentary, it was very much focused on effort. If we put more effort into this, we will be better than them.
Yes. I think, I probably do agree with that. The whole you can go on have another conversation about this, but the whole outlook on sports is completely different to ours. There's scholarship programs for sports are leap and bounds ahead of in England. In terms of anything, I know obviously NFL is the big one, but any sport.
If you look at just college sport in general,
it's huge.
When
I went to America, I went to his a college stadium. It had capacity 70,000 seats.
Yeah,
college is what the hell.
Well, when you look at all the football teams going ahead, I remember someone talked about when they went to go and follow Manchester United on pre-season tour. When they went to America, they worked out and trained at these universities.
Oh, the universities, the training facilities.
And you would think if they went to Bath or Loughborough or something like that, they'd have to use the whole thing, and then the students wouldn't be able to use it.
Yeah.
Here it was just go over there. We'll go over here.
Yeah, it's huge.
The facilities, I'd say it's the standard.
Yeah.
Of what most Premier League football teams have. That's the standard that they're dealing with.
The ones I saw when I was out there, they're just huge, massive complexes. They are incredible. You get all the big universities, you got UCLA, which is the massive, huge sport university in California, and the campuses are just massive, just for sports, and I think obviously Loughborough is the closest we're going to get, and it's nowhere near.
Yeah,
but again, that's money.
Yeah, it's money. A little bit more background on that. When you were talking about it's because Serena was in the final, but more people tuned in to watch Kim Clijsters win in 2010 than they did for Rafael Nadal's victory for the same year. And that was by more than 1.5 million people.
Who was Kim Clijsters playing?
I'm guessing it was Serena. So you can imagine if she was losing, they'd turn off more. But the fact that they still had it there, and it's Nadal.
Americans love Americans.
That's very true. I think that's what they're brought up on.
They're brought up on that. But you have to remember, as I said, for all their sports they play, only Americans play them.
Mhm.
These have these World Series of like baseball. You can't call it world because only Americans play it.
That's very. Do you know what? I noticed that about basketball as well. It's
Yeah.
called the World Series. It's
It's
like
like-
it's only in America.
Yeah, if you look at all the like rosters, it's just American players. So they're brought up on just watching American players play. They don't watch. They don't care about Andy Murray.
No.
An Andy Murray Djokovic final to them means nothing.
Yes.
For me, like
agree.
I'd happily watch a Nadal Djokovic final. I'd watch that. It's incredible. But to them, it's like he's not American. We've got nothing to support. You know, if the British went off, though, we haven't got anyone to support. No one would play tennis because we've only got Andy Murray.
Yeah, I think we went through the phase of sort of Tin Henman had retired and Andy was starting to come through, but wasn't the figure he was.
Yeah.
So people still play tennis, and I think that
Yeah.
won't stop. We will still play tennis.
True.
But you look in America, they don't play rugby, they don't play cricket.
They play it, but
It's not
rare.
as
It's
not,
not-
as
yeah.
prominent. It's getting better. I mean, I think American rugby is getting better. That was another thing. The other little point, continuing the slams, was would you say that male matches are more likely to be put on the bigger show cut? So your Rod Laver Arenas, your Centre Court at Wimbledon, your Arthur Ashe Court at the US Open.
when they get good representation on there, it's evenly spread out.
Would you say, so you think there are spread out then? You wouldn't say there's like a favourability to it?
No, I don't think there's ever been that. Not in recent years. I don't say. I don't think I think it's always even. Wimbledon you've got your main two, which is stems from one. Two's getting better now. In the US Open, the grandstand, Arthur Ashe.
Yes.
There's one more. There's 3 big stadiums.
Is it the Louis Armstrong?
Louis Armstrong, yeah. Them 3 are the big ones, and
Yes.
they get equal representation. So I think they get.
Well, I always remember. Do you remember the? I know we've probably mentioned this in the other 2 podcasts, but from the Andy Murray documentary, remember when he was warming up in Australia, and he said that the Margaret Court Arena was the better one to play on rather than Rod Laver,
Yes.
just from the different types of crowd you get in it.
Yeah.
So necessarily being on a bigger show court might not make for a better match. That's the argument. Your crowd might respond completely different, and because players feed off crowds.
Well, I think in any sport, players feed off the crowd.
But that's a hard thing to call for, because you like that you probably have to look at back of all the viewing figures to see if there was anything in between. It's one of them.
I think in recent years, I'd be pretty confident saying it's equal representation in tennis.
Fair enough. Shall we get into the club? I think we've badgered on about the professional game. Should we move on to the club level? Because we've mentioned about girls losing interest a little bit.
Yeah.
I did a little. This is where I put my journalism hat on.
Nice.
I did a little bit of digging and asked some female coaches. There was 3 main questions I asked. Number 1 is they were all very broad questions,
Yeah.
which was quite annoying. I asked, why don't women go into coaching as much as men?
Interesting.
Second was, why do girls drop out?
We kind of
Which
do
I can give you some substance to that. And then to sort of help combat it, I asked, what can we do as coaches to keep girls interested in the sport and get them to progress further? And I showed you the information that I got given, and it was very honest, is the word I'd use. And there was quite a lot of things that make sense.
Yeah. I think you have to be honest. I think there can never be progress unless people face the facts.
Yeah.
You
I
can
think
try and hide behind stuff and you'll never progress.
People try and give a politically correct answer and try and sort of...
Which slows down process.
It slows down because it's not necessarily true, and basically you're answering a question with nothing.
Yeah. It's alright saying, oh, it's pretty much representation with girls, and girls do stay, but they get distracted. If you go be nice about it, then they're never going to progress. There has to be stone cold truth saying, there are a lack of representation of female coaches out there.
Yeah.
I think I've only ever been coached by, less than a handful of coaches, of female coaches, actually struggling to think.
Shall we go into our own sort of personal experiences first off? So when we did, let's go with our level 3 because that's the big one. With how much did you have?
I'd say I'm going to count. That's in it. Zoe. I think there's three girls in my level 3.
Okay.
Which is pretty good going to that.
I think I had similarly. I think I had about 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Both of whom I got on with quite well, and I thought they could do the job really well. Actually.
Also, I'd say they're more than good. They're already better coaches than me by far. Much more experience than I had. I think one of them they've been coached is a level 2 for quite a few years and a lot of school programs. I learned a lot from her. I don't think the problem here is that females can't be good. Women can't be good coaches. They're some of the best coaches are females. I think it's just lack of representation for them.
Well, Andy Murray is a big advocate for that because he had Amelie Mauresmo as his coach for a period of time and wanted to sort of use that as to sort of say, well, look what these female coaches can do.
Yeah.
The thing that we got from it was, and I'll paraphrase a little bit, but there are a lot of coaches in tennis that are female. However, they're seen as helpers with mini red groups.
Yeah.
So it's not making that transition from helping and sort of the coach assistant to being the full-fledged level 3, level 4, level 5 coaches.
I think a lot of times, a lot of head coaches, someone will see, she'll be great with kids. I mean, that stereotype of girls are better with kids than boys. Let the guys look after the older kids, while the girls babysit the younger ones.
I think what you're going to there is based on the person's personality.
I think it's stereotype. It's before you look at your personality. I think a lot of coaches go, no, that's the girl, should be great with kids. It's that mothering nature they have. It's before as soon as you walk through the door, you're a girl, you're going on a rest session because you're going better with kids than he is.
I mean, not to blow my own trumpet, but I know I've had quite a few people saying to me, you are really good with kids, teaching them and getting on with them and making sure that they enjoy it.
I used to hate it. I used to avoid it at all costs.
Do you know what? I think because it was the first thing that I did.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything different, so I just sort of got on with it and ended up enjoying it.
I enjoy it now. When I first started coaching as a volunteer, I purposely only volunteered hours which I knew they were green balls and higher.
Oh, really?
I avoided red balls. I hated it. I hated the idea of it. I didn't know how to approach it. And now, obviously, I can now. But when I first started, one of the coaches at my university pushed me into doing that a lot more. He's like, you've got to learn how to do it. You've got to be comfortable. And then I did.
Yeah, you're dealing with. I like to always think of when you get someone who's never played tennis before. It's usually a child. What you've got there is a blank piece of paper.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing there. Whatever you teach that child, they will be given for the rest of the time. And if there are bad kinks that you haven't sorted out, they will stay with that, and you pass them on to the next person. They'll have to sort those kinks out.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Oh, you get it all the time when I'll take over an orange group or something, and you're doing an orange group, and then next thing you know, you're getting a new kid in who's done a red session for 2 years, and they come, and you just look at them hit a ball, and you're like, who has coached you? They have no principles.
No.
Sometimes, often it's not normal. It is the coach and it isn't the coach. Sometimes you get that kid who is just bad at tennis, and only plays once a week, doesn't really listen.
That I'd go as far as say they're not bad at tennis. They've not been given the opportunity to be good at tennis. Whether that's their fault or someone else's fault, I think they haven't been given the opportunity to get better. Because as we've said before, if you do one lesson a week, you're not going to get any better at anything.
No,
It could be anything. It doesn't have to be tennis.
Yeah.
It could be playing a musical instrument. If you're doing
It's not having one lesson a week. It's only playing that sport once a week.
Yeah.
One lesson a week is fine, but you then need to go out and practice that. If you're going for one lesson and coming back and not trained anything that you've learned, then it's pointless.
Yeah, so we'll rephrase it. If you're doing 1 hour of that
Yeah.
sport a week,
Then it's pointless. You might as well do 0.
yeah,
It's just as effective.
Yes.
Especially on a kids level because they forget everything.
it is hard, especially with kids as well, keeping them interested.
Yeah, look without an iPad.
And I still think, even though that we've both said we're level 3 coaches, and people might think, oh, that's base level, I still think that it takes a very large amount of self-confidence, persistence, and stubbornness, really, to get into coaching. Because it's one of those things where you've got to create your own reputation of being a good coach.
Yeah.
And I definitely experienced this at Lloyd's, where you didn't make any money unless you could attract people to give private lessons for.
That's a lot. No matter where you're at, that's the whole idea of coaching. Unless unless you're approachable, you're not going to make any money in coaching.
Oh yes, definitely.
You know, but again, there are bad coaches out there who do make money. So, you know, it's one of those. But yeah, you need to be confident as a coach, stubborn. But yeah, I don't think I don't see why that is a barrier to women.
Same with them. It takes a lot of persistence and dedication. I think even more stubbornness, really.
Yeah.
Because I reckon you will get those people who will try and undermine them.
Yes.
With things. If we look at it, how many people are on your level 3 group?
I reckon there's been, off the top of my head, about 10 of us.
10. So 3 of them were women.
Yeah.
7 of them were men.
Yeah.
So they're in the minority for it.
Yeah.
That, if you've got, because stereotyping a little bit, but boys are a little bit louder, they're more confident with what they're doing, especially if they're surrounded by other boys, definitely. You see an all-boys group compared with an all-girls group.
Yeah.
The all-boys group would be running around, shouting their heads off and all this
Yeah.
sort of thing. For a girl, I reckon that can be quite
intimidating,
especially. So that might be a barrier that's put in the way, so they don't feel particularly comfortable with it.
Yeah. No, I do agree. It is tough, but again, the LTA can't afford to do women's only a level 3 coaching. It wouldn't make any sense. Well, I mean, it would, but is there a demand for it? When I did my level 1 and 2, I had the grand total of 0 girls in my course.
Really? See,
Yeah.
I find that slightly shocking, because all the way through my level 1 and level 2, there were definitely girls on my courses who were taking it. And going back to what we were saying about them being maybe helpers, the helpers, you think of the level 1s and the level 2s.
Yeah.
If they're not there, where are they?
I don't know if it was a one-off. I just got on, my group was unlucky with not getting any girls, but I thought you'd get 1 or 2 at least.
So that could be a case for, if they're not there, in a sense, there aren't as many helpers as possible.
I don't think in our area girls' tennis is great.
Do you mean in the Cheshire?
In Cheshire, yeah. I don't think it's great in terms of what I've seen. I think there's other counties out there that are much better in terms of getting players out. I think Lancashire's a lot better.
I think Lancashire, I would probably agree with you, is a lot better.
I think Cheshire really lacks. I haven't seen the latest squads, but in terms of female coaches around her,
there aren't
not many.
That, I think, is quite a good point. There aren't the female role models for girls to look up and say, she's a great coach, I want to be just like her.
Yeah.
There aren't the female role models.
No. So obviously there's one. How many female coaches are there at David Lloyd's?
At David Lloyd, there's 2.
Okay, now name me how many head coaches there are in Cheshire that you know who are female.
Ooh. Unfortunately, I don't think I know any.
No. And we know quite a few of the coaches.
Yeah.
And none of them are female. There's female coaches, but there's not head coaches. This is the problem we have.
that I think we're in sort of a very precarious situation.
I can't speak for other counties. I don't know what it's like.
No, I don't.
But I know of coaches from other counties and players from other counties, just for university, and they're great players, great coaches. But I'm lacking. There's a lack of that in Manchester.
This is the point, and to be fair, I'll be quite honest, fairly inexperienced coaches in terms of other coaches shouldn't be answering this question on a little podcast like this.
No, it's big.
These questions should be put to the LTA and what have you. Say, why aren't these helpers making the step up to coaches? Why aren't you giving these what could be very, very talented female coaches the opportunity to become role models for the next people who want to be coaches, for the next lot of girls who want to be the next Jo Konta or Serena Williams, or want to be a tennis coach themselves. Do you think, in all honesty, that the LTA is trying hard enough?
I think the LTA is doing what it can. It's doing enough, just in terms of putting the money out there, advertising it. What I found a lot of the LTA initiatives is they give it a good go for 2 years, and then they kind of stop it, and they go, it's there, but that's enough of it. That's enough of it now.
It's sort of enough to say, oh, we're doing this.
Yeah. It's like the tennis for kids. The first 2 years, incredible. We had these courses to go on where you got, Leon Smith, Annabelle Croft, all the big names, having a good date with them, coaching.
You got a hoodie and
hoodies, trackies, all these banners, free balls, incredible. This year, I was like, oh, it's an online thing.
Yes, I've seen
Clicky things. I did it. It was horrendous. Literally horrendous. The most boring thing I've ever done. Not inspiring. And I think you don't get any kit anymore. And I think you get a pack of balls. I think that's it. I mean, you get your pack, which is like stickers and whatnot, but you can go online and get them. There's nothing special.
It comes down to the point where, like you said, where they're doing just enough so people don't get on the back.
Yeah.
And like anything, if you go with anything, if you do just enough to get on, one, it won't be beneficial for you.
No.
And two, I don't think it'll be enjoyable as well.
No.
If you do something to just good enough, it's not satisfying. You don't get the self-satisfaction for doing something. It just doesn't happen. If you go up, turn up, do your lessons and what have you, and sort of coast through it, you won't enjoy it as much as if you're really sort of committed to the player and trying to get them better and improve them.
You know the LTA is doing something wrong when they haven't themselves produced a player in donkey's years. And they don't get Andy Murray. Judy Murray coached Andy Murray and then he went to Spain when he was 12.
There's a perfect role model.
And he doesn't... Judy gets the credit for it. And the coaches in Spain. The LTA didn't touch him. Who the LTA actually... If you think of it, Jo Konta lived in Australia.
Very true.
Laura Robertson was brought in Australia, I'm pretty sure, as well. So they don't get them. Who do they actually get to lay claim to?
I think this is probably another subject for a podcast.
If you went to the committee on the LTA and said, who you actually produced? Name me the player you produced, because you haven't.
No.
You can say to him, we didn't win anything.
No.
Fine, you can say, oh well, Kyle Edmund's coming up. Great, what's he won?
I find it slightly harsh to criticise Tim Henman because I thought he maximised what he had.
Oh, he was a good player.
That's what I'm going with. I thought he maximised everything he had to the best of his ability. However, you had really, really talented people like Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras.
So what do Americans do different?
That's the thing. That's probably one thing that we'd have to look into different styles.
I think I just don't think you can convince the LTA to pursue stubborn. They believe what they're doing is good enough. That's
where I think people fall into the wrong mindset. It's a bit like, it was a funny thing that I remember hearing where they say, if you're on a bus and you don't see the crazy person on the bus, you are that crazy person.
Yeah. The LTA is that crazy person, especially in the North. LTA North's the worst.
Well, we've talked about on the coaching side. I definitely feel it's neglected with the different courses that we have.
Yeah, I'd say LTA North is by far the worst organisation in sports I know of.
Apart from FIFA.
Well, FIFA's
Apart from FIFA.
FIFA's worldwide. I mean, literally, okay, representative. FA is pretty good. Cricket up here is, we've got Lancashire's, we've got Lancashire, Yorkshire, some of the greatest cricket teams.
Football.
Football,
Bloody hell.
we've got great teams. Rugby, you got Leeds Rhinos, Sale Sharks, Wigan.
Yes.
You got all these. I don't know the other sports, but you get athletes produced all the time, teams produced all the time. Look at tennis.
Where is everybody?
Everyone. It's the annoying thing is, right. It's great that these tournaments being done at the National Tennis Centre. Why not Bolton?
Oh, yeah.
Why not the Northern? It's summer. I know it's not great right now, but why not? Why can they play something at the Northern? Especially it's grass as well.
Mm.
They could have a mini grass season, but no, it's at the National Tennis Centre.
I will play devil's advocate with this, saying that the National Tennis Centre is meant to be the pinnacle of British tennis, with the best facilities and such for it.
It's a tennis court.
That's why.
It's a tennis court.
But then you have to remember that in the times that we are, where you had all the testing and stuff, it might have been a bit
Okay.
easier there. That's the argument.
We went to not open,
Yes.
and they've got enough place there.
Oh, they've got quite a lot.
They've
of
got
stuff.
student accommodation so that all the players can stay there.
Hmm.
They've got big enough buildings to test them. And if they wanted to do it indoors, they've got the hard door courts indoors. Or if they wanted the grass season still, they could have done. But no, they went National Tennis Centre. Yes, we'll have it there. No 4 wins. No, I tell you what, not 1 4. No one thought, oh, why don't we do it in Edinburgh? Or
Move it around.
do it around. Why?
Do different stages.
They all thought, National Tennis Centre, yes, that is where we'll have it. And everyone went yes. No, not one person thought no.
Like I said before on the coaching front, I think this is a question that we're not going to answer, and we're definitely not going to solve on a little podcast. It's something that hopefully, if someone listens, they might take it on board and might put it forward to a higher authority.
Yeah, and the higher authority. The higher authority is, oh, no. We've got Andy Murray. No, you don't. Just a newsflash. No, you don't.
But I think we can conclude definitely on the coaching side. You need more female role models as coaches.
Yeah, a lot more.
Definitely. You could probably argue that Judy Murray's not been used to the potential that she could be used to promote female coaches through that. I reckon there's quite a few female coaches that you could definitely use as, look what you can do if you do this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
If you do this level and then this level and then you can do this. Because there are some very good junior players who I think could potentially be very good coaches and could be very good role models for people.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're being encouraged enough to do it. I think they're encouraged to do level 1s and level 2s, help out, and see it as a job, but they're not being given... I don't think even I was given the information of, look what you can do if you do this and this and this level. Coaching was never, ever an option, especially when I was in high school, when they were going through all the stuff I was doing extracurricular. They never once said, oh, you do this helping out on a Saturday with tennis coaching. You ever thought of doing that as a career? Never put forward to me. Never ever put forward. It was sort of like, go to university, get a degree, Bob's your uncle, you're done.
Yeah.
They're not being advised to do it. That, I think, is the main thing. There aren't the role models and they're not being advised. I think there's a little bit of intimidation with it by they're the minority in the classes.
Yeah.
And most of the time you'll get that one alpha male in your class who will shout above everybody and probably will intimidate most people. But to be fair, that's one of the things where I feel like you've almost got to have a hard thing and say, this is the hand you've been dealt with.
Yeah.
Deal with it to an extent. Sounds harsh.
True, though. Can't.
It could be the same thing if you and I were on a course and we had someone who was shouting the gob off.
Yeah.
And we felt intimidated by it.
Yeah.
We're not going to just say, oh, well, he's intimidating me.
Yeah.
Now, that might make me sound a little bit insensitive.
Yeah.
Which I completely understand if people agree, but I'm just coming from the scenario where you will not have nicey nice all the time.
Oh, no. Of course not. It's difficult.
But I think the main thing, if you can get more role models in it, more people for young coaches to look up to, people who are level 1 and level 2, you've then got more, if you get those level 1, level 2s, you've got people below. You've got the young girls who get used to having a female coach, even if it's just a helper, and they progress onto a coach.
Yeah. Yes. It's obviously it's just very.
Sorry, I ranted a little bit there.
No, it's good. It's a difficult situation. As I said, we don't have the answers. We have ideas.
But that's all they are in our position. We are just.
We can't implement anything, unfortunately.
Not to make us sound very small and minute, but in a way we are just two coaches who try and almost make a living from this and enjoy doing it. Yeah. We are not in any position of power to change it, which might sound a little bit defeatist.
Yeah, I mean the only way you could input our ideas is to get to the top of the LTA. It just seems. I mean, obviously, to be fair, people at the top of there for a reason, but are they doing enough in their position? Is the question.
And I'm not sure if it sounds a little bit, but I reckon there are quite a few alpha males quite high up in tennis, anyway, and they might have different ideas. There are people in areas I don't want to scapegoat and stereotype people in the higher ends of tennis or any sport really and say they're misogynistic or anything like that. But there are people who have certain views and will subtly put certain parts of society down, whether they be female, whether they be from an ethnic minority or anything.
Yeah.
And they do it so subtly that they get away with it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So the next question, as I asked, was why do girls drop out? We've covered this a little bit, where we talked about how boys are a little bit more sort of competitive with it and will stick around with it longer, and they just do sport generally.
Yeah.
And it may once again, it may sound a little bit sexist, but boys naturally, I still think, are more competitive than girls.
Oh yeah, no, naturally, yeah.
The best way I remember always one thing that I always found quite interesting, I think this was taught in my level 3 or it was in a course I did. You've got two different ways of learning. Yeah. You've got goal objective and you've got task objectives.
Okay.
The goal objective is basically win.
Yeah.
That's what you go with. And I think, especially in England, there is quite a high percentage of coaches who go with win. Yeah. The whole system of rankings and ratings is based on winning.
Yeah.
It's not about developing things and what have you.
Yeah.
And if you look at the two, boys are very much sort of that goal orientated. They just want to win at anything. They don't know how they do it. They are very much the Jose Mourinho-esque type of people where we want to win. We don't care how we do it. We just want to win. You could have the worst technique, but if you're winning every single tournament you enter, not a care in the world.
Yeah.
Girls, however, are more task orientated.
Yes.
Or most of the time are more task orientated. I won't say that every single girl is task orientated.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are.
Yeah.
Where they want to do a specific task right, which is why they excel in things like coursework subjects and what have you.
Yeah.
So if you had, let's say, you had a boy and a girl and you gave them, said, right, I want you to be able to hit 5 forehands in a row into this box over here on the court.
Yeah.
A boy will literally just try and do it straight off the back, won't think of it. The girl will think of it more of the task. How can I do this? That's where I think you need to be able to coach the individual.
Yeah, that's the same about anything, but it's the same with boys though. You always got to coach the individual. I don't think you ever get one quite the same. You get very different ways of coaching. I coach my clients all very differently. Some want a lot of information. Some don't want that much. Just want a couple points here and there. I think a good coach will recognise that straight away.
You've got to be able, even though they might not do it, you've got to be able to sell the dream of tennis.
Yeah.
You've got to show that, look what could happen if you get this far in tennis. And one person told me, and I'll read this word for word. Where is it? So basically we're talking about goals. So it's easy to keep going when you have any aim, usually to be a player. Once players see their limit and the dream is gone, why will they keep playing? You've got to give them a goal to sort of aim for. It might be unattainable,
Yeah.
but if they have that goal, then they'll keep striving for it. It's a bit like there was the argument I had going into a little bit of politics. But do you remember when the government came out and said how many tests they wanted to do in a week or
So
something?
like 100,000.
Yeah, and people said it was slightly unattainable. You'd rather aim for something unattainable and then get to say like 80,000. So you're aiming perfection, but you'll settle for very good.
It's like in a test, like what you're aiming for. Well, I'm aiming for an A star. We're not going to get it. Yeah, but if I aim for a C and don't get a C, then it's a D. If I aim for an A star and get an A, it's an A. You want. It's one of those. It's like you always have to aim higher than what you think. If you aim for what you think you're going to get, you might get it, but you probably won't because you're not going to put that much effort into it. You always got to aim higher. You've always got to carry on pushing and pushing and pushing. I think boys do that better.
Yeah.
Girls, but again, there's ways you can approach it in terms of girls with the tactical orientation thing is breaking down like the serves into small pieces. You got little different sections and you got to get it right. And once that's right, okay, that's a tick. We're going to be on to this section of the serve now. So I've only shot 4 and say right, done that, and then it's like full circle. Boys want to be from position A to position B like that, in seconds if they can.
Yeah,
you just got to approach it differently. It's just what you say, and I think it's just that coaching knowledge of realizing that.
Well, one person said to me that if you take 100 boys and 100 girls, the person expected 80 boys to be naturally competitive and maybe 10 girls.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds a little bit
extreme.
Sounds a little bit extreme and a little bit sexist to an extent. But I do believe boys are more competitive than girls.
I think they are, but then from the girls I've coached, I think it does depend on the sport. But in the sessions I have with girls, my mini reds, normally you don't see kids very competitive, but like the whole group's competitive. When we play games, you want to know who's won.
Yeah.
Who won, I won, right? And they got upset if they didn't win, which I quite like. All right,
yes.
You've got that competitor. So I think sometimes in sports it's just funny. Like you go to a sports day, you watch like the 4-year-olds and whatnot. They don't know what's going on, and they're like oblivious to like they're in a race and whatnot. As I think if we can implement that, I think being competitive from an early age is really important.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm competitive. I never believed in that sort of it's taking part that counts spiel. I don't believe in it. I never believe in it. It's all about winning.
Well, we had a little bit of a scenario today where we were doing a bit of a fitness test.
Yeah.
Because we're both competitive people.
Yeah.
Both
I
of us
I just support you. I was shouting for you.
Both of us were very competitive in this little test. I'm slightly annoyed that he made us do it together.
Why?
Knowing one of the specific drill. Because I always prefer to do things on my own and isolated, because I feel like if you put competitiveness in, especially when you're doing fitness tests with it, it doesn't bring out the...
I think you pushed me more.
Oh, thank you.
When we did the throwing one, I don't think I'd have thrown as far if I didn't see you launch it.
I like how you used the word launch.
Because the thing is, I saw you do it and I was like, oh my god. Because I'm not a big thrower. You're a lot bigger than me. You're a bigger build. It's not where I excel. But I saw you do it and I was like, right, I've got to get somewhere close. I can't be like miles behind you. So I think I had that one really good throw.
Yeah. No, the way you put that, I think you helped me because we did the side-to-side thing. Yeah. And it got to the point where I can't stop and be lagging behind. So I literally threw myself at the line.
Yeah, literally. That's funny.
Literally threw myself at the line to make sure I finished it in a reasonable time.
Yeah. So it wasn't, and got cut in the process.
Oh, I've had a lot worse.
I mean, it's like when I've always been competitive. Like it was an endurance test we did that last month.
Yes.
I think my last time was it was second quickest time because just that sort of pushing. The aim was to get under a minute every time, and I knew that my second time was 56 seconds. So I thought, right, I got 4 seconds here, but that's dangerous when you're tired. So I just pushed, and I think that when I was on like lap 8, 9, 10, I really just sprinted and let the burn happen.
Okay.
and I was nearly sick at the end of it.
Well, you see, I had a completely different mindset. I didn't give completely everything on that first one.
Right. Okay.
I sort of just went through it. I reckon I gave about 60% of
Right. Okay.
what I
Yeah.
did. So I wasn't running and I wasn't jogging. It was
Yeah.
sort of a little bit in between, sort of a very fast jog.
Yeah.
And heard what the time was. Thought, all right, keep that up and keep going through it. So I
Yeah.
wasn't completely belting through to the point where I was nearly sick.
Yeah.
I just went through it, and I think that's learned.
Okay.
I think that's learned, and that's where us as coaches can help anybody, really, not just girls, it can be
Yeah.
boys as well, where you sort of, like, if you come out of the blocks flying in a 2-hour match,
That's true.
you're going to be knackered after an hour.
I get what you mean there. Yeah. I think in terms of what we just did though, I know where my body's at. I know I can push it.
Yeah.
I know how to push it. I think I knew when I'm on my limit, and I knew I could carry on. I know I'd probably feel ill for doing it, but I didn't care because I knew I'd be able. I'm all right now.
No.
I mean, some people don't. I think it's you have to be all right with that feeling. You have to learn. I think when I do marathons, I've learned that.
Well, it's like anything, the natural thing of the body. If you feel any discomfort or pain, you stop.
You want to stop.
That's what it's there for.
Training your body to sometimes forget that, because sometimes it's a mental thing. His mind over matter in terms of a lot of the times you're not actually tired. Your mind's tired, which is fine. You've got to train your mind not to be tired. You get it all the time.
But it's like the thing, because I remember when I told you I didn't like running.
Yeah.
I found out if I could get my mind to wander,
Yeah.
and just let it go off of the places, think about something. That's why podcasts help.
Yeah.
Just think about something else other than what I'm doing at this moment in time. It's a lot easier to do.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I always envision races when I'm running. I envision that ridiculous it sounds, I'm running next to Mo Farah and I'm going down the 200 metres straight and I'm going to win the London Marathon. That's what. But playing that over in my mind, obviously, is never going to happen. But it does distract you, And yeah, so you got to find ways to just let your body do its thing. Because a lot of times when I did my PB for my 5K this year, my mind was like, "Why are you doing that?" I just remember saying to myself, I was like, "What's the point of doing this? What are you getting out of this?" I think a lot of times then people would stop, but it's just learning to run through the pain because my legs are screaming. I was going at such a pace that I've never been at before, breaking barriers. And my legs are on fire, but I was just like, I'm so close to my PB. If I gave up now, I'm going to hate myself for doing it. I've come this far. I'm 4K in, 1 more kilometre, 3 more minutes of just pounding the track. You do it and you get this massive what's the word? Euphoria.
Yes.
Moment, you're like, oh my god, I've done it. You get this high and you feel great.
I think that's where you can link it back as well to giving someone an aim.
Yeah.
Giving someone a goal. If they're going, it's a bit like if you go to the gym and just sort of like, this will do me good. And you don't have an aim.
Yeah.
You won't work as hard and you won't sort of task it all. So giving someone at an early age a goal to achieve in the sport really helps focus them and keeps them interested.
Yeah.
It was like I did it with somebody just after lockdown. They weren't happy with the one-handed backhand. I said, all right, let's get you the goal then of transitioning to a two-handed backhand. It could be something as simple as that, or it could be if you have a little kid comes up and goes, I want to win Wimbledon. Fair enough, it might be unattainable. Only the 0.01% of people do it.
Yeah.
But if that's what's going to motivate them, why should it be up to me to tell them, no, you can't do that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So I think you've got to coach the individual in the right way. And I think with girls, like we said, it's a little bit more maybe task orientated.
Yeah.
But that's for you as a coach to try and figure out and decide.
Yeah, both work. You've got to work it out.
So we've sort of come to that point. But the last thing I asked the coaches were, what can we do as coaches to help? And I think the main thing that people says is have a very safe initial beginner level competition to settle them in. And I'm sure you might have seen it, you might have experienced it yourself, where it's maybe your first tournament or something, or you've seen it and the person's had a shocker.
Yeah.
whether that's been performance anxiety or they're just not comfortable with
Competition
it.
is always different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely different.
So much pressure. It's just pressure. You got to. It's from when I did my competitions, you see a lot of. I was lucky with my parents in terms of they didn't give me all that added pressure. But a lot of times you get the parents who like coaching the kids constantly and just not letting them enjoy the match. And if they lose a point, the parents, they're talking to them and shouting at them after a loss or something. It's like, if you get that, you're never going to get. You're going to put people off life.
Yeah, I think that's where in this country you've got the goal orientation.
Yeah.
It's the win at all costs and what have you. If the person hasn't won, then it's not great. I got into a habit because dealing with different people and different experiences, I settled on the fact that when the parents said, "Oh, I've entered them into this tournament," I'd always say to them, try and pick up what we've learned in the lesson. If they're putting that into a match situation, couldn't be happier because they've had the confidence to do it in a very stressful situation.
I think it helps in that situation when you've got your coach watching you.
Yeah.
I always found it easier when I was playing at Leeds when my coach was watching me play a match because it kind of gave me that confidence that what I was doing was right. Even though I might not be winning every point, you get the nod of the head going, right, you're doing the right thing. Don't worry that it's not working right now, but you're doing the right thing. It'll take a while for it to come off, but you're in the right area. A lot of times, when a kid goes to tournament on their own, the thing that doesn't work for a couple of points and they lose, they're like, oh, God. They panic and they go back to the old way and they lose even worse. It's having that confidence, that's something that, and a lot of times parents don't know. Parents don't know what they're looking out for. And all of a sudden, like, the parents go, why are you doing that? He's gone out 5 times. What is what we're working on? Well, it's not working, is it? And go back to hitting the ball down the middle, let's say, which doesn't work.
No.
You need that coach. I think a lot of times you need a coach. I think travelling with a coach. Obviously, the majority of people can't afford it.
One, I think you can't afford it, and two, I think coaches most of the time don't have the time for it. You may if you're working with. I know one coach once told me you should only ever work with a maximum of 4 performance players if you get that luxury of football.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to neglect the rest of them.
Yeah. That does make sense.
So in order to give the best of yourself to somebody else, you've got to limit of who you're working with.
Yeah.
Which for making money is not brilliant, but as you said, do you remember for your level 3? Did you remember doing like SMART goals?
Yeah, they've been around. I've been doing them since high school. SMART goals.
SMART goals, not this sort of.
They are good. I mean,
it's a cheesy way of putting it out, but it works.
Yeah, it works. So
yeah, I think things you've got to focus on things that you can control. You can with the result of a match, you can only control really 50% of it.
As a coach.
As the player, the player can only influence 50% of it because they're only one half of the other thing.
100%, yeah.
You've got another person, and the other person might be worse, so they've already influenced the match, saying that you're going to be better.
Yes.
If they turn up and they don't miss a single ball, you can't really do anything about that. They could have one of those points.
100%, yeah.
And you've almost just got to focus on the things that couldn't. So I always go with people and say, what do you think worked well? They say, I thought my forehand was quite good. I say, why was it quite good?
It's easy to focus on the negative rather than the positive. It is easy.
I always try to have one of each. So they've got the positive, doing something well, they feel good about doing that. They thought, I did well at that. But then I don't say what was one thing you did badly. This is where I think you got to rephrase it. I think this is where you've got to understand the person as well. So you say, what could you have done better?
Yes.
So it's sort of a negative, but it sounds a bit more positive.
Yeah.
There was one thing I remember, we've talked about football a lot in this, and it's a tennis podcast, but it's always good to get influences from the sport.
Yeah.
I remember a story Gary Neville told about Sir Alex Ferguson, where he came up to him and said, son, I'm not going to play you in these next 3 games, but that 4th game, I want you to be at your best. So you're sort of like, is he dropping me for 3 or is he really needing me for this one?
Yeah.
It's sort of making the person not feel negative about
Yeah,
a negative situation. And I think with all kids, to keep them interested and almost fall in love with the sport, you've got to keep everything positive. Oh, yeah, positive. They can understand the negative and what have you, but always bring a positive out in negative. The only time where a mistake is wrong is where you haven't learned from it, and that sounds slightly cheesy, but it's true.
You learn from your mistakes.
Oh, of course.
Mistakes are important.
I think we've talked about. I think we'll end up going round and round.
Yeah,
with this subject.
It's a big subject.
It is a big subject. There are things that the LT are doing, as we said, like the miss hits thing and the she rallies, skiing, all this sort of thing. But as we said before, there's probably more. There's more they can do. There's definitely
100%.
more they can do.
Yeah.
But as we said before, it's not for us to design.
No.
So a little recap. So we've talked about the professional game. So ways that they could probably fix that is just making one,
merging them
together. So if they have equal pay for everything, everything's uniform. You get paid for this tournament, this tournament, this tournament, this tournament. You wouldn't get that. Club level, coaching side, more role models. Get young girls and young helpers seeing female faces in such a position that they might want to do that.
Yeah.
From stopping girls dropping out and getting them to fall in love, I reckon the main points are making sure you understand the person you're teaching.
Yes.
Understand how they learn, how they respond to certain things, how to get the best out of them. I think even though we've applied it to girls, I reckon you can apply it to boys as well, but make sure that the person you are teaching has an aim.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Make sure that they've got something to work towards.
Yeah, 100%.
Even that's as small as saying to be able to hit a top spin forehand all the way up to the other end of the scale where I want to be winning national, international grade tournaments.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, no, good.
The last part of the podcast is anything but tennis. We have talked a bit about things other than tennis in this podcast, but this is dedicated to something not about tennis. And we're going to talk about the greatest film franchises in our opinion. Go on,
I think...
Can you think of what?
I'm a Harry Potter nerd. I love Harry Potter. But I wouldn't say it's the greatest franchise ever.
To you, is it the greatest franchise?
Not ever, no. I think it's doing incredibly well. It's up there. It's top. I think Star Wars.
You think Star Wars?
I think it's the longest running.
Now this is where I'm going to trump you.
You say Star Trek forever.
This is where I'm...
For the last ever podcast.
This is where I'm going to trump you. And even though we've been talking about gender equality, it's a little bit of a funny thing to go on, but I'm going to say James Bond.
Okay. I give you a toss off to James Bond. I don't think it's the greatest. I love James Bond, but I don't think it's the greatest franchise ever. They're so difficult.
It's my favourite, is how I would phrase it.
My favourite though would be Harry Potter. In terms of I love it, and I thought it is successful. It's got a theme park.
Yeah.
Which is the only film. Well, forget Disney, but the only sort of massive section. Obviously, Star Wars has its land now in Disney, but
the annoying and the obvious one that I'm going to go with is the Marvel franchises.
Oh God, Marvel! How can you forget about Marvel? I can think, yeah.
It's the most. I don't want. It's probably the wrong terminology for it, but it's the most plastic answer, isn't it?
Yeah, in terms of financial gain, yes, it is probably the most successful. But I think the problem with Marvel is because it's so big, there's different elements of the films that you like and films that you don't like. If you watch Harry Potter, you like all seven books or 8 films. You watch Star Wars is a mixed bag.
I think you get once you get to a certain number of films.
Yeah. I think it's very Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts that's where it starts coming. I love Fantastic Beasts, but I know people who can't stand Fantastic Beasts.
Okay. I think that's when you get into like the proper hardcore things. Like if you start talking to me about Bond, I will go off and say, even though he was the longest running Bond, I will say I didn't like Roger Moore whatsoever.
See, I haven't really. I've watched classic Bonds, but I haven't invested time into them.
I've watched every single one about I don't know how many times.
Yeah, you see, I'm more invested in the new Bonds. Pierce Brosnan loved Pierce Brosnan Bonds, which obviously, I don't think you did by the look.
No. I liked GoldenEye,
Yeah.
but I felt after that they were very 90s, very tacky. It wasn't the Bond that I was used to. I always feel like with Bond, it went almost too sort of Mission Impossible and
Right.
too action.
That's great. That's a great.
That is a great franchise, actually. I like Bonds having sort of over-egging that Britishness about it, which I definitely think that Daniel Craig's ones have put on. Definitely. They've used that nostalgia tool of having the DB5 in quite a lot of
Yes.
how the way he dresses, the things they do, the characters that they've used.
Yeah.
I think they've played on that nostalgia card really well.
Yes, 100%.
Other franchises?
You've got the Hunger Games.
See, I was never invested in that.
I read the books first before the movies were in, I think. Well, I was invested. They were good movies. Other ones.
What do you class as a franchise? How many films?
3, I think, at least 3. I think 2 is not enough.
No, two sort of. It's not quite there.
No, but there's loads out there. If you go on. The worst one, Twilight, was putting it out there.
Ooh. I reckon there'll be quite a few people who probably disagree.
I go through
I can go on record and say I've never watched a Twilight film.
I watched the first one, hated it.
Bit of it's a sort of a guilty pleasure because it's just all that action. Is the Fast and the Furious franchise?
Yeah, no, the originals were better. The first few.
Yeah.
The last few, I think they got less about cars and more about.
It's more of a story.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Paul Walker's story was, sad and it was good way, but I think they're a little bit much now. I think Fast 6 was good up until the point when they made a 20-mile long runway.
Yes. I'll agree with you on that.
And on.
That runway kept going for
incredible
miles.
I was watching it. I was honestly watching this thinking, what the hell is happening here?
Well, I think that's the whole point of the movie.
I know it's unrealistic, but I was thinking this has gone ridiculous. How long is this plane going at 100? It wasn't even taking off. It was going blasting down a runway. It wasn't taking off. I was just like, this is incredible. But oh well. There's loads out there. We could be here all night talking about
proper nostalgic one. I'll finish on this one. Is Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future.
Okay, I'm just going to put this out here. The laziest writing ever.
Oh, give over.
The laziest writing.
Yeah, but it's not what it's about, though.
What's it about? Every movie is exactly the same, but it's just set at a different time.
Exactly, they're still brilliant. You could argue that about any other film. You could argue.
No, it's literally the exact same storyline, but one's got hoverboard in it, one's a wooden skateboard, and he's just running.
Exactly, they're going to different points in time.
It's exactly the same.
You could argue about majority of films. I could go. It's a bit. I go on. This is probably going to touch a nerve. I could probably go with Doctor Who. He fights an alien. He beats it. He goes off.
Yeah, but no, it's just the thing with the Back to the Future is you're going to talk about time. You've got to cover yourself and the amount of paradoxes they created. Take the last one for example. The only reason he goes back back in time to the Western was to save Doc.
Yes,
Doc's now alive, so that means originally that gravestone's not there anymore. So he doesn't go back in time.
So what you're doing there is you're thinking about things too much, and this is where you probably agree with me. With Doctor Who, is people are thinking about it too much.
I think Doctor Who covers itself pretty well.
I won't go into the TV franchises. I reckon Doctor Who's up there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But yeah, I mean, Back to the Future's enjoyable, but yeah.
That's the thing. I like it because I don't really have to think about it. I watch it and enjoy it. That's why I like it.
Okay, that's right.
When you start adding logic to things like that, it's a film that shouldn't have logic in it.
That's fair enough. The only thing annoys about is the whole thing the Doc says throughout the way is we can't mess with the space-time continuum. And all they do, even though they're not messing with it in the film, they're not messing with the space-time continuum, is they're still messing with the space-time continuum because they're doing things, they're creating paradoxes all the time. Yeah. Constant paradox machines. It's just...
So even then, you're thinking into it too much than what you probably should.
Yeah, probably, true.
So that could be another subject there of films you just watch where you can just turn off and watch it. No. Fast and Furious is probably that one.
Yeah, pretty much.
You just sit and watch it.
But yeah, anyway.
That brings a good end.
Yeah.
That was a bit. I apologise to people. I felt I was quite ranty in this.
I had a good rant on there. But, yeah.
But then again, it's a subject that you should rant about.
Exactly. Anyway,
Well, hopefully we've said some good stuff in there, some positive stuff. Hopefully, coming from two male tennis coaches, it's quite hard to empathise, and people say, "Well, you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You shouldn't put opinions about it." But we've done the research. We've asked the people.
Yeah.
We've tried our best.
Yes.
And we've been as honest as we can.
Anyway, yeah. Well, cheers for listening, and see you next time.
Bye bye.